Do you suffer from erectile dysfunction and you've been told that it's due to performance anxiety because of stress? Well, from a neuroscience perspective, there's much more going on. Think about this. If you're in good physical health, but you have difficulty performing when you want to be with your partner, but perhaps also at the same time, you're able to get aroused if you view sex on your phone or your computer, if you read about sex, or even if you think about sex. Why can you get aroused if you're viewing it or thinking about it, but you can't when it's time to be with a beautiful human being, interested partner who's in front of you? I'm Dr. Trish Lee. I help millions of men overcome erectile dysfunction quickly by understanding it and knowing what to do about it. So, in this video, we're going to break down the pieces of performance anxiety, what's happening if you can get aroused when you think about sex or watch it, and why you can't get aroused with a partner, and what's happening underneath that may be causing both of these things. So, let's dive into performance anxiety. Performance anxiety is thought of as primarily psychological, meaning we feel it in our minds. So, yes, it feels like stress and it's time to be with your partner. You're nervous, you're worried because you know you're having trouble in that department. So, of course, that causes a ramp up in your system and your energy. You feel different, you feel stressed out. But what you might not understand is that from a neuroscience perspective, those feelings in your mind and your body are coming from a shift in your brain performance pattern. What happens is the energy in your brain is ramping up, it's speeding up, and it's causing something called hyperarousal. Hyper meaning too much. So there's too much arousal in your system because you feel nervous, because you're not sure if you're going to perform. But this hyperarousal didn't start in the moment of potentially being with a partner. This baseline shift in arousal was caused long before the moment that you're about to have a sexual encounter. We're going to dive into that. But the idea is what happens is when you feel performance anxiety, there's a shift in your baseline arousal. We'll say from 7 or 8 up to 9 or 10 because of the anxiety or the stress about performing. And this can lead to erectile dysfunction where you can't get erection at all, or possibly you can kind of get an erection, but then you have delayed ejaculation. Scientifically, those are the two most suffered aspects of what I call sexual arousal dysfunction, SAD, because of this change in baseline arousal. So now let's go to number 2. Let's say you can get aroused if you're watching sex or you're listening to it, if you're reading about it, or even if you're thinking about it. Why can you get aroused over there, but you can't get aroused with your partner? We know from scientific studies that this has to do with something that's called hypersexuality. We already talked about hyper means too much. So, too much sexuality means that your brain has been linked to high levels of dopamine. Dopamine's the neurotransmitter of pleasure, more and motivation. So it'll motivate you back for more pleasure where you have found it at the highest levels. So in this way, what happens in hypersexuality is your brain might be looking for sex all over the place because it's used to viewing it and masturbating, or it's used to viewing it and getting a dopamine hit. So your brain is inadvertently, through conditioning, been conditioned to look for sex and enjoy it through this lens or perspective. So, what I want is a shift in perspective for you. And we'll get to that in your brain hack strategy at the end of the video. So, stay with me. So the idea is too much sexuality. Your brain is conditioned to think about sex as a high dopamine producing activity that gives your brain that rush so you can feel the pleasure in your mind and your body. So this is not at all the same as a healthy sexual libido. Sexual libido means when you think about sex, it's in the context of being with your partner. It doesn't look for sex in the screen or in literature or in fantasy, in euphoric recall. It looks for it and it thinks about it in a partnered experience, healthy libido. You want to be with your partner to have a connected happiness trifecta, they call it, experience where your brain gets the perfect combination of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Dopamine for pleasure, serotonin for joy, oxytocin for connection. But if your brain's been conditioned to look for high amounts of pleasure, that's what changes your baseline arousal in your brain in the first place. So, your baseline arousal for a healthy libido is at 5. 5 means during your workday, you can do your best work, you're being productive, you're rocking it out, you're in flow. It means that when it's time to chill, you can chill with your family, you can go to dinner with your friends, you can go to concerts. I went to a concert with my besties last night, had a super awesome time just chilling outside in the amphitheater, relaxed. That's healthy baseline arousal. But if you've been in a hypersexual mode for a long time, it's difficult to get there because your 5 is no longer 5. I've already told you it's probably 8. And now, if you're 8 in hyper arousal due to hypersexuality, and now you get nervous about performing, your 8 goes to 10. We're going to break this down just a little bit more in a minute. But the idea is if you've been in a hypersexual mode for years, maybe decades, this hypersexuality has framed the whole way you think about sex. And this is the way that I think about it. You've probably heard this story that the fish who's in the fishbowl and he's swimming around, and another fish comes to the ledge of the fishbowl and he says down to the first fish who's in the water, "How's the water?" And the fish says, "What water? What water?" What water means if you've been in the water for so long of hypersexuality, you might not even recognize it. So let's talk about number 3. What causes hypersexuality instead of a healthy libido? The number one thing, explicit matter. And explicit matter includes pornography, any porn influenced materials, and in today's day and age, sexual media. So I help people leave porn behind so that they can heal the arousal dysfunction in their brain. Hypersexuality is the glasses, the lenses, the frames, the perspective that you have on sexuality because of viewing it and getting such high levels of dopamine from porn that now your brain, it not only needs a level 8 or 9 to feel stimulated, unfortunately, it needs a level 15. Porn is something that's called a supernormal stimulus. It gives your brain more dopamine that can be found in the world. Unfortunately, what this does is it desensitizes the dopamine receptors in the reward center in your brain. The reward center is the thing that lights up, that helps you feel pleasure. So now your brain only lights up when it's viewing very high intensity scenes, acts, genres, sexual activity on the screen, or now you can even put it in your mind because of this change in brain performance pattern. You can fire up those neural pathways without even having to view. It's called euphoric recall. So you're able to envision and feel the pleasure because of the dopamine in your system that's linked to these high level sexual acts. This also explains why your arousal template may become distorted. So, what I mean by that is that many people have quote unquote fetishes. And a fetish means that you have a particular body part, a particular sexual act, a particular genre, a particular person. It can be a particular anything that your brain became linked to, and now it finds it highly arousing. That's a level 20 arousal for you when you see it. And especially if you couple it with masturbating, because masturbating is a higher level physical stimulation than partnered sex. And we know this from science that hypersexuality is different than healthy libido. It leads you back to more hypersexuality, unfortunately, leading you away from healthy libido, which that then includes sexual arousal dysfunction. So let's put a bow on it and get to your brain hack strategy for the day. The idea is that if you struggle with erectile dysfunction, the performance anxiety that you feel before being with a partner exists because of the baseline arousal changes that have happened in your brain long before it was time to be with your partner. Those that arousal dysfunction has been happening for days, weeks, years, decades. Every time you go back to porn and masturbation, every time you view explicit matter and you feel that dopamine hit in your brain, that is desensitization. That desensitization caused baseline arousal dysfunction in your brain that led to your sexual arousal dysfunction. Baseline arousal dysfunction means now you can't get to the arousal that you need to when it's time to perform sexually. They're all one and the same. They're not different issues. They're all neurological issues that play out in your mind and your body. And they might even play mind tricks on you. Your body is not feeling and performing the way that it should. Your mind might tell you that no, you're not addicted to porn, and I don't love the word addiction, but compulsion definitely fits. We know that hypersexuality is part of compulsive sexual behavior disorder. It means you have to go back to it to feel good and ultimately not to feel bad. That causes the arousal dysfunction. So, what to do about it? Your brain hack strategy for today is to go back to those first 3 points. I'm going to take you back to them. So, get out your journal, get your pleather journal out, get your fancy pen out, sit in your sanctuary, and really think about this. Number one, do you struggle with performance anxiety? And what does it feel like? What happens? In those moments, do you think I'm going to go watch porn so I can be with my partner? If you watch porn or you have to stimulate yourself before being with your partner, it's very likely you have sexual arousal dysfunction in the brain. Secondarily, that stress, that performance anxiety is ramped up because of baseline arousal changes. So, number one is think about the stress. And number one, while we're on stress, think about all the other stressors in your life. Stress in and of itself impacts baseline arousal changes. If you watch porn or if you're wrapped up in explicit matter, it is definitely a contributing factor, but other stressors are also. I run my own business. I have 5 beautiful children. I have the hubs who's constantly trying to stress me out. Those are a lot of stressors. But what I do is I try not to let those stressors cause me anxiety on the inside. I approach and engage with them. I deal with them. I list them. I get stuff done, man. I've been getting stuff done all day so that I can rest and relax knowing that I've got the stressors under control and I'm taking intentional positive action towards them. Do that. Get your stressors under control. Number two, let's think about hypersexuality versus healthy libido. Do you fall into this category? Do you check people out in terms of lusting? Do you watch porn? Do you go to porn influenced explicit matter? Do you read about sexuality? Do you like to watch sex scenes in shows? Do you find yourself becoming aroused by them? Do you intentionally look for sexual material for pleasure? If you do, that's hypersexuality. And you can't have hypersexuality and healthy libido. They're two sides of the coin. They don't go together. So you have one or the other. So where the problem is, the solution lies. By decreasing hypersexuality, you will be decreasing hyperarousal in the brain, bringing that baseline arousal back in check. So if you're desensitizing your brain with explicit matter in terms of hypersexuality, it's time to resensitize and stop desensitizing. So, number two is think about it. Does hypersexuality apply to you? It probably does. And what I want you to know is if it applies to you and you look at what other people post online or what other people are saying about erectile dysfunction, that it's solely a physical issue with your sex organ or that it's solely a psychological issue, it is not. It's a neurological issue, and people with hypersexuality have brain changes that lead to sexual arousal dysfunction. So if you fall in the category of hypersexual disorder or hypersexual lifestyle, because disorder just means your nervous system's out of order. It's not in the healthiest of order. And if you struggle from erectile dysfunction, the proof is in the pudding type of thing. So let's go to number 3 of your brain hack strategy. Are you desensitizing your brain? Get real with yourself. Make a list of all the ways you desensitize your brain inadvertently if you've given porn up. That's going to include porn. It's going to include checking people out. It's going to include masturbating. It's going to include any other sexual acting out behaviors. Be real with yourself. You have to stop desensitizing. Then you got to get busy resensitizing. You resensitize your brain back towards the healthy mode. So the idea is if you want to get fit and healthy, yes, you can give up junk food. Junk food's going to stop, putting the weight on. But if you really want to get fit and healthy quickly, you have to give up junk food and you have to work with a nutritionist who teaches you how to eat well and use supplements, and you have to get a personal trainer to show you how to get your body fit as fast as possible. So it's not just time, it's time and techniques. So if you're interested in learning more about how you're desensitizing and how you can resensitize quickly, I offer a program called Heal Sexual Arousal Dysfunction in 3 Steps at Home. I would love for you to check that program out. It's the fastest way you can heal your brain. If not, stay with me here so I can give you more brain hack strategies, because I want you to know this is that you can get over erectile dysfunction. People ask me all the time, in my case, do you think I can heal from erectile dysfunction? What they don't understand is the case is always the same. There's desensitization from explicit matter and no resensitization. That's the solution. So I want you to know you can do it. And you can start today with the brain hack strategy I just gave you. All right. For more information, please check this information out on my blog post over at drtrishlee.com. And of course, if you're looking for more help, I would love to be part of your journey. So go on over drtrishlee.com. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.